This Late Night Linux Family podcast is made possible by our patrons. Go to latenightlinux.com/support for details of how you can join them. Support us on Patreon for access to ad-free episodes and early releases. That's latenightlinux.com/support. Hello and welcome to episode 366 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 29th of December 2025. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Third degree soldering iron burns.
Graham.
Merry Christmas.
And Will.
Hello.
Christmas is over. It's this weird time between Christmas and New Year.
12 days.
Best time.
I barely know what day it is. I only know it's Monday because we're recording. Well, today we're going to do our 2025 year in review. I think let's start with some good news, shall we? And that is on the gaming front. It has been an excellent year for Linux gaming. The biggest story has got to be the Steam hardware announcement with the Steam Machine, Steam controller, and the Frame, the VR headset. We still don't have prices. We don't know when it's coming in terms of release, but we're all very excited, aren't we?
Is it out now? What about now?
Linux gaming has gone from strength to strength this year, primarily due, or almost entirely due, to the work that Valve has been doing to, I guess, diversify their operating system base for their gaming. I worry that we wouldn't be in such a good place if it weren't for Valve, but I'm incredibly grateful for all of the work that they have done. And they've done it open source, which is the most exciting thing. They haven't kept it all to themselves. They've upstreamed where appropriate. I'm sure they have a few bits that they haven't upstreamed yet, but I have faith that they are going to upstream all of this. And so us mere desktop users who don't have the hardware yet can still benefit from it. It's a really good success story.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Proton is a bit of a miracle. I just can't believe it works as well as it does. I would never have been able to guess. And I'm usually the optimist. I'd never be able to guess that Proton would work as well as it does, that you can translate Windows API calls into equivalent on Linux and that it would sometimes run faster. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what blows my mind still, is that sometimes you get a better frame rate through Proton. I still don't understand how that's possible, but great work from Valve and the people they're paying, I suppose.
And not forgetting the ARM translation layer as well, which I forget what that's called now, but being able to run those x86 games on ARM and translating the Proton stuff as well is extraordinary.
Fex.
For feck's sake, yeah.
Arse!
Yeah, it is extraordinary.
Well, an interesting thing that has happened over this Christmas period is that they've stopped selling the LCD version of the Steam Deck in the USA at least. So it looks like they're discontinuing that.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It's always on like a bigger discount when they have sales on the Steam store. And I've had both, and I think the OLED is superior. It's a slightly bigger screen. It's a better frame rate, slightly better performance, slightly better battery performance. It's just a little bit of a better machine. So I can understand why.
Do you think they're repurposing that factory to make the screens for the Frame? Yes. Jeez, that's a terrible name, Frame. For fuck's sake.
Well, I mean, it would make sense, wouldn't it, to shrink down your product line or whatever, to have just fewer things to sell if you're going to add 3 new things.
Yes, and as Phelim's saying, the LCD screens in the Frame, maybe they can use the same production lines, or, you know, maybe there's some optimization there. Maybe,
but anyway, 2026 is bound to be a great year for Linux gaming. Well, we can't ignore the effect that AI bullshit has had on open source this year. We've got all sorts of links that we can put in the show notes for people who are complaining about their repositories and websites and wikis and all that kind of thing being just DDoSed effectively by these AI companies, whether it is the crawlers in the first place or whether it's the agent crawlers trying to get real-time info. It's just been bad news for open source, I think, to the point where Anubis had to be invented, which is a kind of proof of work thing for the browser to... It kind of like doing the same job as a capture, but much more involved, I suppose. But even that, we saw some AI crawlers defeating it.
It's hard to know what to say here because I think all of us are feeling totally fatigued by talking about or reading about AI more accurately, and I don't have much motivation or enthusiasm for talking about it here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but I think we have to acknowledge it, unfortunately. It has been a big issue this year, and I can't see it getting any better anytime soon, really.
Well, I think I can see it getting worse, all right, more the fact that the whole thing implodes. Whether it implodes within 1, 6, or 12 months, I'm not 100% sure. And what it takes out with it and is the big problem, because there'll be a lot of innocent people get taken out by all those shite bags as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of AI, I think we have to also talk about Mozilla, don't we? And I've got 20 links here or something. And I jokingly said before we started, you could just sum it all up with just sigh, essentially.
It feels much like the AI story where we've talked about it so much and the stories are so entwined with each other. And it just boggles my mind how 12 months has passed and we're still just shrugging at whatever it is Mozilla seem to pull out of the ideas bag week to week. Just lack of ambition, I think, is what's happening.
Imagine if 2025 hadn't happened for Mozilla. I don't think we'd have noticed. That's the thing. It is just beyond farce. And now they have the new guy. So, yeah, I'm sure it's all going to change and be brilliant.
The new guy, Anthony Enzo De Meo, who said, Firefox will remain our anchor. It will evolve into a modern AI browser. Great, yeah. But it's interesting, right? In compiling this show doc for us today, I had to go back and look at all of the news from the whole year. And there's a post from Mark Sermon on the Mozilla blog from February of 2025. And it's called Growing Mozilla and Evolving Our Leadership. And what it's all about is Mozilla Leadership Council, new board chairs, leadership having more and more bureaucracy at the top. And that is surely the root of the problem here, that it's all about the foundation stuff and the leadership, and let's get as many bureaucrats involved as possible. And let's not care about the engineering and the engineering managers and the accessibility people and all the people who actually make the thing that they should be making good.
I wish we could speak to some people from Mozilla or people who have left Mozilla, because a lot of what we say is just our thoughts on something. I mean, for example, it seems to me that Mozilla still gets hundreds of millions of dollars from Google, and it seems that they accepted years ago they're never going to be able to compete or create their own stream of revenue to be able to satisfy their demands. So they're just using it at a board level as a cash cow, a personal cash cow. That's what it seems. They're so disconnected from what I can see everybody in the community saying, even the folks on Hacker News. And what land are they living in other than one where they all get to share in what is still a considerable sum of money coming their way? Because I've seen nothing of it.
I think that we are prone to make our own narratives up about the conversations that happen inside Mozilla, and we're not party to any of those. So it's not fair to say they should do this differently, they should do that differently, because we don't actually know the conversations that are happening. All we know is the results of those meetings and those appointments, and that seems to be a resounding nothing.
Yeah, we can't say for sure that they sit around huffing their own farts and enjoying it. But we can definitely speculate.
Could you imagine one of them coming on the show? And we're just screaming at them for 30 minutes. They just come on and they just leave ears bleeding.
No, that's not true. We would love to speak to Mozilla leadership and have a frank conversation about their goals. So the invitation is there. It's open. Come and talk to us.
I'm resting my vocal cords just for that moment.
Well, one of the big trends in 2025 has been the death of X11 and Wayland adoption. I mean, talk to a Fedora user, they'll tell you that was like 5 years ago or more. But we're starting to see the proper death of X11 now. GNOME's pretty much gone Wayland only. KDE is going all in on a Wayland future, as they say. Ubuntu 25.10 and 26.04, at least the alphas that we've got now, or the daily images, they don't have an X11 session. 2025 was the year of Wayland on the desktop. I'm calling it.
Surely that'll be 2026 when it actually happens, but yeah.
Well, yeah, these things are never, binary like that, are they? But yeah, I mean, we saw this thing way back come around and it had been a bit quiet. It's a kind of way to run older desktops that don't support Wayland on Wayland using the same technologies as X-Wayland.
Could you name one of those desktops? Would it be?
I don't know, maybe XFCE? Yeah, there we go, XFCE. And I thought this project had gone a bit quiet, but recently they've had a new release, so it's still actively being developed. So even the likes of XFCE are not going to get left behind, seemingly.
Figuratively, yes.
I do agree with you, Joe. I think it fits that 2025 is the year of Wayland on the desktop. There's no looking back. It certainly feels that way in my mind. I myself switched to Wayland, and while there are problems and I'm still encountering problems, I'm fine with it. This is the future, and we'll just fix them as we go on, and it's the only way to do it.
I mean, Phelim, you've switched as well, haven't you?
I think it was near the end of 2024 where it kind of just made sense with the way things. I tried it worked, and just stuck at it. Yeah, it's been brilliant the whole year. I would never really go back at all. I've no reason to. Everything works.
I do have problems with global shortcuts and full screen apps in KDE, but I'm also using proprietary NVIDIA hardware, so I have to suffer in some way.
There you go. Should have got an AMD random number card that you think may or may not be better.
This is my penance. Every time full screen fails and my screen goes black, and I'm trying to find the shortcut.
But you can lord it over me playing Half-Life Alyx, so yeah, there we go.
You two will be able to soon.
Will I, though? How good will it be when I had to sell both of my corneas to pay for it?
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is an easy-to-deploy, zero-config VPN that allows you to build simple networks across complex infrastructure. Sign up, install Tailscale on the devices you want to connect, and you can get going in a few minutes. Whether you want to connect back to your home LAN while traveling, send backups to a friend's house, or securely access your Kubernetes cluster, Tailscale combines the power of WireGuard with simple installation and configuration for a seamless experience. Tailscale's personal plan is free forever. You'll get up to 100 devices and 3 users at no cost with no credit card required. So support the show and try Tailscale for free today at tailscale.com/LNL. If you'd like to bring Tailscale to work, use code LATENIGHTLINUX for 3 free months of any paid plan. Thousands of companies have already made the switch. That's code LATENIGHTLINUX. Another thing we can't ignore that's happened this year is politics. A certain thing happened in America at the beginning of the year, and that has had a knock-on effect on everything. I mean, like absolutely everything, from geopolitics down to the politics of open source. You know, we've seen Xorg get forked by the baddies, for want of a better word. We've seen what happened with Framework and their big tent bullshit. We saw the Python Software Foundation turn down a massive grant because of politics, essentially. And I think that it has just become impossible to ignore. And people give us shit for it, for talking about it on the show too much. And I'll stick to the tech and all the rest of it. But I don't think that you can ignore it. I just don't think you can anymore.
Do you think this is different to any other year or period that we've been involved in? You think this is a marked change or just a reflection of the way things are going generally? Because politics has infected everything.
Well, I think that it has, over the last 10 years, say, started to infect absolutely everything. But I think it has accelerated in the last year because of Trump's second term and him just really fucking going for it this time, having nothing to hold him back. And it has just accelerated the division.
And the fact that a lot of the tech billionaires from Silicon Valley are funding a lot of far-right groups in Europe as well is poisoning the well over here too. It's quite bad.
Well, yeah, and the AI thing is not unconnected to all of that, is it? I mean, AI is fundamentally an anti-worker, right-wing thing, is it not?
No, it's completely balanced, and it definitely isn't one-sided in any shape or form. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you think that people like Musk stoke the fires of political argument so that they can get those sorts of users onto their platform because more liberal users are leaving those platforms in droves? Like, is this a deliberate, I'll say whatever I need to say to appeal to a demographic of people so that they will use my platform and my share price doesn't tank? Or do they actually believe these things that they say about freedom of speech and stuff like that?
I think Musk is an interesting case because he's already the richest guy in the world. And I suppose, yeah, that does depend on stock price and whatnot. But no, I think that in his case, he does believe what he says. I mean, I could be wrong because there are a hell of a lot of far-right grifters who don't believe they're on bullshit, I don't think. And they're just saying it for clicks and everything. But in the case of Musk, I think he kind of does believe his own bullshit.
Do you not think he just happened to find some kids who laughed at his jokes in class and now he's trying to be the best?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
I think this is quite interesting, despite the fact that we've received so many emails telling us not to talk about politics. I've always been aware, like even 15 years ago, for example, there was a huge number of people into open source, especially in the US, who described themselves as libertarians and were a big part of like the broader community. They loved things like, was it Ayn Rand? I could never pronounce the name. And it feels like we were in our own bubble. In a lot of ways, we saw this in Brexit, and I think we see it with Trump. It never actually kind of invaded our space. And so politics has invaded our space, but it was always there. And I think that is what's happening at a more global level. I don't think it's anything particularly new in open source, other than we're now more aware of it and we're having to try and think of ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Open source has always been a fundamentally political movement. And you're right that the so-called libertarians have always been around, but I think that they've been given more voice lately. Because, I mean, they're not libertarians. The capital L libertarians are just demonstrably not libertarian. They're authoritarian in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think that as politics has developed and become more polarized, or whatever you want to call it, I think that those people have been given a louder voice in open source. And people who, you know, like the no politics guys who, you know, politics doesn't have to affect them. You know, they're middle-aged white people in good jobs making loads of money. So why would they care about politics? And now some of them are in this position where they feel they can just say whatever they want, including like really nefarious shit, and get away with it. It's been a pretty shit year for Intel in terms of their Linux contributions. They shut down Clear Linux, and they've just laid off loads of people who were working on Linux and open source stuff. And I feel like this is just a very short-sighted move by Intel, or set of moves by them. It was always a case of you could buy Intel hardware and you knew it was going to work great with Linux. Like whether that was a laptop or a server or whatever, you knew it was going to be a first-class experience. Whereas now they are getting rid of a lot of the people who are maintaining various drivers and whatnot. It feels like, not straight away, but going forward, you might have to question whether your Intel hardware is going to work 100% with Linux. And that just seems like, as I said, so short-sighted of them.
I think this is a good example of how politics plays into open source. I think the background to this story is that Intel are really struggling for money. They did a deal with the devil, and no doubt part of that deal was you've got to make these cuts to all these pinko projects you've been working on, and Linux is a good one to shut down. So I feel like as much as we try to avoid politics, this is a really good example of how something seemingly disconnected from politics actually has its roots ultimately in money and therefore in politics.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the comments from one of their new lead FOSS director or CEO, or God knows what they call it, but he was, you know, saying that, oh, we've been helping our competitors and it's not helped us and all this type of stuff. It's like, as you say, short-sighted to the max on that one, because it's very hard to put a monetary value, I'd imagine, on the fact that people will recommend Intel hardware and stuff. And I'll tell you this much, I won't be touching any of their stuff, because let's face it, they can't build processors that don't burst into flames and melt half the cores. So why the hell would you stick with them? I think they've sort of cemented their own bad tech choices there.
Well, I've got one of those processors that is supposed to set itself on fire, and it's been absolutely fine for me.
No, so you say.
Well, especially since I updated my BIOS and got the latest fixes or whatever, and it runs slightly slower now.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was really pleased when that happened.
Underclock for better performance. I mean, not going on fire.
Yep.
I don't think Intel is going to disappear anytime soon or even anytime in the future. I think it's around for a long, long time. But I do think, and I'm interested in what you guys think about how people like ARM and more recently RISC-V and, specific RISC-V players are trying to get into the server space first, and then I think the desktop space second. That must be concerning Intel to the point where they think, like, maybe we need a radical redesign of all of our processors. That's going to cost a fortune. We're going to have to save some money here. Do you think that RISC-V is a real threat to Intel on the desktop?
Not yet. And I think that it might be a risk to x86 or x86 64, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think that Intel has to only do x86. There's nothing stopping them making ARM or RISC-V CPUs or system on a chip or whatever. There's nothing that explicitly ties them to x86 long term, is there? And surely at some point they're going to have to diversify.
Well, they did have an ARM division for a long time, but I think that got shut down a while back, and I don't think that they do that anymore, or sold off or something. So I think they have done ARM in the past, and yeah, there's nothing stopping them doing it again. Although I would imagine they would rather go RISC-V than ARM at this point.
Well, yeah, because it's going to cost them less in licensing, isn't it? Well, 10 years ago, I made a prediction that Intel will die if they don't diversify. And I stand by that. Like, they're going to have to diversify. They cannot rest on their x86 laurels forever. But I suppose we'll see. All right, it's also been a great year for KDE. And Nate put up a post just today, I think, as we record, highlights from 2025. And yeah, the Wayland transition nears completion, as we talked about. Plasma continues to mature and improve. KDE Linux grows. So yeah, this is the composable, immutable, whatever you want to call it, version of KDE Linux. And he says, fundraising performance is completely bonkers. And you've been going on about that every bloody episode, Phelim.
Well, I mean, I even updated his number because I went and checked literally half an hour ago, and it's at 338,174 and 80 cents. It's absolutely mad. And I did ping Alice and I said, was that like all just normal people donating normal amounts? He says, yeah, pretty much. There was a couple of big hitters who came in with like $1,000 or $2,000. But it's not like Google stepped in and said, oh, we're paying $100,000 and, it's like 2 or 3 of those. This is all pretty much people supporting the project.
That's amazing, man. That's exactly how things should be. Mozilla, take note, for fuck's sake. Put it in front of people and they will support you. It's as simple as that.
It's such a simple way to contribute as well. Like anybody can give a $5 here or there, probably.
Well, not everyone, but certainly a lot of people, yeah. And that kind of makes it fair on everyone, doesn't it? If you're not in a position to contribute, someone will be, and they'll kind of pay your way.
Aye, exactly, and that's the way it should work. And it allows the developers who are actually doing the hard work to actually get remuneration for it, which is only fair realistically. And, it's just, I wish projects had maybe started this earlier, but it's great.
Yeah, and the work that they're doing with Valve on the Steam hardware stuff, that's got to be helping as well. So here's hoping that 2026 is going to be yet another great year for KDE.
Yes, please.
Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week with a look back at our 2025 predictions and our 2026 predictions. So we'll see who wins that.
Oh, dear.
Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.